In a recent New York Times piece, you spoke about, essentially South Africa using this divisiveness and exploiting it. How do you think that relates to what's going on in America today, if at all?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, it was very different because in South Africa, one of the goals of apartheid as a white supremacist system was to divide people of color so that they weren't a majority, so that they couldn't rise up, or it would make it harder for them to rise up against the apartheid government. What I've come to realize is that is essentially one of the greatest tools that any people in power can use, is convincing people that are not in power that they are all the cause of each other's problems. You see that in America in different ways. You see politicians blaming immigrants for jobs that have been lost, in America, and yet you find that the truth is those jobs that immigrants are doing are not jobs that Americans wanted, nor the jobs that they have lost, but rather jobs are lost to manufacturing, jobs are lost to globalization. There are many factors that take jobs away, but it's easier to point at another person who doesn't look like you. The same thing goes for crime. To point fingers at other people, it's the easiest thing, is to go like, they're the crime, they're the reason you're in this place, they're the reason you're in that place. And even in the black community, that is something that was often used, where they'd go, well, it's not you, it's that guy who doesn't pull his pants up. It's that guy who listens to hip hop. He's the reason that you all get oppressed.
Then we get into respectability politics,
exactly.
Yeah.
And that is such an effective tool, because what you do is you convince people that they need to be fighting each other instead of letting them focus on the real enemy. And it's surprisingly effective.
This has been a tough week with stories around like Tomi Lahren and your cupcake, etc. So why the cupcake, and what is your response to what people have said?
Narratives of stories are created all the time that, you go, it's as simple as this. I invited a person to my show. I appreciated that the person came on, because the truth is, people don't want to go to spaces where they're not welcome anymore. I know that better than anybody, right? And so for me, this person came to my show, right? She's in a hostile environment. She knows that this is not going to go well. But then after all of that, to see people, cussing her out as a woman, to see people using slurs that are misogynistic, to see people throwing out death threats, I was like, hey man, I don't stand for that. I don't care how you feel about a human being. Acknowledge that they're a human being. And if you're going to lean on the same cudgels of hate that you're fighting against, how can you then fight against them? If I am saying that in my life I'm trying and aspiring to constantly be a feminist, can I now discard all of that because this woman is something that I don't agree with? So no. And so, from the show, as we do with many of our guests, we sent Chelsea Handler vodka when she came on. We sent Ben Carson a gift. Sometimes it's a weird interview, or it's funny, or it's this or it's that, and I just send them like a little thing. And what we did was, after the interview, I was just like, hey man, just send a thank you gift, and then by the time the gift arrived, this story had become such a big thing. But I understand that people need to create stories and narratives. People need to make news. I understand that better than anybody. So I go, all I can do is exist within the world that I'm existing in, and then I go from there.